Hi there, I am Glenyce Hughes, and I am the radio show host for Living in the Magic of Possibilities, which airs once a week on Voice America, the Empowerment Channel. And you can find a link to this week's show in the box below. And be sure to subscribe to this station too, guys. Now, I am filming this from our beautiful pool here in 𝗬𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏, Australia, which is near Cairns. And you can even see my pretty little floaty toy to me next to me here. It is something like plus 35 or something amazing like that in Celsius. So really no other place to do this show but from the pool. And today's show, I know I already did a show for this week's radio show, Creating Your Future. And this show is like an add-on to it because of something that has come up over the last couple days that I wanted to share with you guys. So I received an email from a friend of mine. Her and I were really good friends 20 some years ago, maybe a little less than 20 years ago, quite some time ago. And she sent an email to me. She actually signed it The Angry Bitch. So that's where the title of this response to The Angry Bitch comes from. And just so you know, I've actually had a conversation with her. So she does know I will be doing this video, and her and I have already had all of what I'm going to share with you guys. We've already talked about. So I would like to read that email to you guys so that you guys know what I'm talking about. Okay, so she says, hi, Glenyce. I've been watching you on Facebook for the last year. So, like I said, her and I were good friends many years ago, and then kind of reconnected on Facebook about a year ago. So I've been watching on Facebook for the last year, and most days I am intrigued, and other times I am angry. Today, I am angry. I remember when we were close friends 20 some years ago, all the time we spent talking about how shitty our lives were. You had the same problems I did back then. Now it seems like you don't have any, and I have the same ones with some new ones. I have listened to some of your radio shows, and it sounds like you live in a totally different world than the rest of us. A big part of me wants to slap you back into reality and tell you to grow up. Life isn't about magic and fucking awesomeness. Life is about struggle and hard work and never getting what you want. And a part of me wants to jump into your ridiculous bubble with you. I really don't want to be this angry bitch. As you would say, what else is possible? Can you help? And as you probably already guessed, I don't have the money to pay your rates. In brackets, oh my fucking God. Ha ha ha. And I'm not asking for a free session. Maybe there's a radio show you can direct me to, or some words. And if you're too busy riding your unicorn on the rainbows of fucking awesomeness, that's fine too. And then she has her brackets, and I do hope you get the humor that I'm interjecting here. Signed, The Angry Bitch. And so, I wanted to share that with you because there's so many pieces of it that maybe will inspire some of you guys or contribute to what you might see in the world or maybe have even experienced yourself. So I want to go kind of piece by piece through it. So she talks right off, I've been watching on Facebook and some days I'm intrigued and some days I'm angry. Today I'm angry. And when we look at that from that place of what she's calling anger, I wonder personally if it has more to do with not acknowledging what is possible for her. And the reason I can speak to that is because I've been there. And I did do a radio show about when the green-eyed monster appears, about jealousy. It was only a few months ago. So do check that out if this is something that you've experienced in your own life. And, a lot of times, if we're not willing to choose something or create something that's possible for us, instead of acknowledging that, what we do is we go to that place of judgment. We go into, and in this case, she's using me, that I'm, I shouldn't, that I'm bad, that I'm wrong. And, it's like she's projecting that energy onto me and into anger instead of going, wow, that's really cool what she's creating. What could I create here? And she says, I remember when we were close friends 20 some years ago, all the time that we spent together talking about how shitty our lives were. Now, this is really, I'm so grateful for this email. I really am, you guys. I didn't take it personally, and I'm so proud of myself for that. I could see where she was, and I could also see and perceive that she wasn't looking to make me wrong. She was looking truly for what else is possible. And I'm grateful for that too, because there might have been a time where it wasn't sent with that energy and, might have been to just make me wrong and I could have deleted it. But in this case, there was really an invitation and really a question, really a what else is possible. And so all the time we spent together talking about how shitty our lives were. And I remember this. I remember she was one of the friends that I had to choose. I had to choose for me and allow her to be and choose whatever she was going to choose, which was to stay in that space of how shitty life was. And I had to choose for me by walking away from that. And not that we sat down, had the conversation that, I'm leaving and I'm going to choose more consciousness or any of that. That wasn't it at all. It was just with time, it became so apparent to me that it didn't work for me to talk about how shitty my life was anymore. And I'd also done enough studies and enough, read enough books and all of that I knew that the more that I talked about how shitty my life was, the less likely I was going to be able to change it. And I remember that being so clear to me. And it was probably the last time her and I sat down as friends and had, visited. And it was so clear to me that I couldn't create what I wanted to create in that energy. Focusing on how shitty my life was never going to create the magic that I create on a daily basis now. And it was probably one of the most difficult choices that I had to make. To acknowledge that wasn't going to create what I desired to create, and know that at least in that moment, she wasn't going to come with me. And I had to be okay with that. And I struggled and I did all the crazy in my head and all of that. And ultimately I chose what worked for me, which was to just keep moving forward. I have listened to some of your radio shows and it sounds like you live in a totally different world than the rest of us. I do. I do. And what if we can all live here? What if life isn't about things being hard and difficult? And what if life can be ease, joy, and glory? And I know some of you watching this, and even when I talked to her initially, that was still really far out there. And as you can tell, I'm really being aware of the words that I'm using for a variety of reasons, but one, so that it can be an invitation to everybody, so that if you're watching this and it's pissing you off or you're angry bitch like she has been, it can still be an invitation. And maybe it won't be, and that's okay too, but I'm really aware of the words that I'm using because I've been there too. I've seen when people were creating stuff and I wasn't, and I've played in the wrongness of me with that, and then the wrongness of them for that, and none of that had worked ever. And it was really about, as Dane here, one of the founders of Access Consciousness, he said, your point of view creates your reality. And so she says here, life is about struggle and hard work and never getting what you want. And your point of view creates your reality. So when we have that point of view, then she's going to keep seeing that with that point of view. And it's not about putting on rose-colored glasses or pretending that life is perfect and happy and you just smile and everything's wonderful. It's not about that either, but it is about stopping stopping discussing and thinking about how shitty your life is. And it is about choosing gratitude for even the littlest of things. Like, hey, my eyes opened today. Let's be grateful for that. Or the sun is shining. Let's be grateful for that. Or maybe it's raining. Let's be grateful for that. Or back home, it's, minus 30 Celsius. Let's be happy for that. Or be happy that we have heat or something. Like really looking at that. And what is there? What can you find to be grateful for? What can you find to discuss? And I know for myself, all those years ago, when I really started kind of going from the conversations of how shitty my life was into other conversations, even if it was just about how blue the sky was, yeah, there were a lot of people that I ended up not spending time with. And it's not about them. It really isn't. And it wasn't about her either. It was just about what I required, and knowing that it was okay. Knowing that it wasn't up to me to make her feel better or to keep having those conversations so she was happy. Because those conversations don't ever change anything. And we know that. We know that. And then she says, and parts of me wants to jump in your ridiculous bubble with you. Yeah. What if we all chose a ridiculous bubble? And what if it's not a ridiculous bubble? What if it's ridiculous compared to what we thought was possible? You know what? I'll agree with you there. When I look at what I had created 20 years ago, where I was living, I was unhappy. I didn't like the work I went to every day. Hubby and I were not friends. We're not kind to each other. Did not have fun and get to play all day together. I would have not desired every day to be date day that long ago. All of that back then to what I've created now. And did I just wave a magic wand and it change overnight? No, it was step by step and choice by choice by choice. And part of those choices aren't always fun, right? Like just even knowing that that pretty much just needed to walk away from this friend, that was not something that I desired to do. It wasn't like I wanted to end a friendship, but what I really desired was to create something greater. And my awareness was I couldn't do both. I couldn't sit and talk about how shitty my life was and create something greater. And so then she's saying, can you help? And if you're too busy riding your girl unicorn on the rainbows of fucking awesomeness, that's fine too, which I just think is really funny. And I mean, that's one thing with this gal. She's got an amazing sense of humor. And so if we look at it from that place of, what would you like to create in your future? And are the action steps you're taking now congruent with that? So if sitting around right now, if you've got some friends that all you do is sit around and talk about how shitty your life is, possibly that doesn't match up with the energy of what you would like your future to be. Now, maybe it does. Really that's irrelevant, but you do want to look at that and check in with every action step you're taking. Even if you do go to a job that you don't like every day, check in if you not liking it is congruent with the future you would like to create. Because sometimes that's the only choice we have. Even 20 years ago, I could not have stopped the job that I was doing and just been like, okay, I'm done, la-di-da. It wasn't like that. But what I had to stop, what I had to choose, was stopping complaining about it and stopping on focusing on all that was wrong about it and all the people and all the stuff that went with that. But that really is sometimes the only choice we have in that 10 seconds. So it's like, look at those things too, because that's where a lot of times people will, when they come for sessions or they come to classes or whatever, and they'll be like, hey, I just want to change like everything. And can we do it all by, 6 p.m.? Sometimes that's the choice we have, is just to find the things that we do enjoy and that we do make us smile and do make us laugh and do create more of that joy in our life. And then we can start then changing all of those other things that go with that too, bit by bit by bit. But chances are You're not going to go to bed, thinking about how shitty your life is, and the next morning you wake up and how happy you are and how perfect your life is. It's probably not the way it is, and it's not about a perfect life either, and it's when I had the conversation with her, I was very aware not to defend what I've created and defend it either way. Not to say, oh my gosh, well, you don't know how hard I worked, or, that's defense. Or the other way of, what, yeah, this is what I do now, and this is how great my life is, or any of that. It was just like, hey, yeah, you know what, I've actually chose and chose and chose and chose and keep choosing to create more and more of what's awesome for me. And that's really, if you're willing to choose, like every 10 seconds, whether it's just to choose to find something to be grateful for, or choose an action, like maybe there is a job that it's time to leave, and you've been aware of that for a while, then maybe it's time to actually take that step. And the two questions from Access Consciousness that I always use, still use, and if you guys have listened to my radio show, you've heard me talk about these questions, is, so if you've got that choice, like truth, what would the planet be like in 5 years if I quit my job today? And truth, what would the planet be like in 5 years if I don't quit my job today? And keep it in this moment. Like, don't ask, okay, if I quit my job next year, don't ask that. That's too far away. You're looking right now. And a lot of times when people are like, oh, I just don't like my job and I just want to leave, and I ask them that question, and they go with what feels light and what feels expansive, it usually is to not quit it in that 10 seconds. It usually is to start making some other changes, because maybe there's another form of finances that you require to set in place, or something else that's required to do before that action step. And so it's just being really aware of that and asking that for everything. Those two questions have changed so much for me, and have contributed to me choosing and creating, 2 months in Australia in December and January, and all the other magic that I create on a daily basis, and, riding unicorns on rainbows and all of that sort of stuff that may seem inconceivable to so many people. And yet I'm here to tell you it's not. I'm not different in the sense that you can't create what makes you smile. It's not that. There are some things that are required to change, absolutely. There are some choices that you will be required to choose, and some ones that may not feel really great at the time. And I wonder if you just keep asking, what will the planet be like in 5 years if I choose this? If that would contribute to you choosing it more. Because I know for me, actually creating a whole new reality is one of my targets for 2016 and beyond. And so part of that goes with it too, because when I look at the energy, and I mean, you may not get a sense of energy, or that might sound, difficult or whatever, but look at the energy of, just think of the last time that you did spend time talking with a friend about how shitty your life was. Just get the energy of that. And get the energy of what that created on the planet. Yeah, yuck, right? Now, get the energy of, even if it's just with yourself, maybe you don't have a friend that you can have this conversation with yet, but just even with yourself, and get the energy of thinking about how phenomenal your life is, and finding gratitude for at least one thing or one person. Yeah, now get the energy of what that contributes to the planet. Yeah, can you perceive the difference? So even if we can start doing that, even if we can just start being aware of what our words and what our actions are doing, and then actually start aligning our choices to what we would actually like to create in the world. Oh my gosh, imagine the magic that will be possible then. So thank you so much for watching. I encourage you, if you've got questions, post them below. And if you liked this video, please do a thumbs up. I would be so grateful. And again, make sure to subscribe. And if you didn't listen to this week's radio show, make sure to check it out, because I talk a lot more about different tools and processes and such that you can use to create your future. So thank you, and have a wonderful rest of your day.